It's a tale as old as time, but it's not Beauty and the Beast. It's blame the fans. Well, more specifically, blame it on the boys, because that's what Jodie Whittaker is doing. Yes, that's right. The woman who played Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker, is blaming boys for the show failing. I mean, it had nothing to do with the fact that, the stories were terrible. Her portrayal of the Doctor, no one bought it. The timeless children, when they completely screwed up Doctor Who's entire history just to push an agenda. Everything, and they kept ramming home with that, so that just left the entire thing to just plummet. And they followed up with Shooty Gatwa, and that was just the final nail in the coffin for it. But no, according to Jodie Whittaker, no, it's the boys' fault. Yeah, that's what you should do. Blame everybody else for your problems. Makes perfect sense. The article here from Cosmic Book News. Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker blames boys for show failure. Yeah, it sounds like a good plan. With Doctor Who having been a massive failure since the introduction of the 13th Doctor, in a tale that is quickly becoming as old as time itself. Okay. Yep, so Jodie Whittaker is blaming fans for the show's failure. What a shocker. Under showrunner Chris Chibnall and with Whittaker as the Time Lord, Doctor Who's viewership plummeted. The downward trend continued with the 15th Doctor, which has seen the worst ratings in the show's 60-year history. But like I said before, once they decided to make the Doctor into a woman, the only thing they could have followed up with was making the Doctor black and gay. And that didn't work out because all they wanted was making Doctor black and gay. And the story was just terrible. And then you had Shooty Gatwa telling people, don't watch, go and touch grass. How did that work out for him? Well, so it worked out for him. Via the UK's Telegraph, Jodie Whittaker goes so far as to blame the male audience, saying boys didn't look up to a female Doctor Who. What she had to say, it's never been questioned that I had to look up to men. Referencing how as a young girl she liked Doctor Who. So it was fascinating that for some, we women could not be role models. She seems to be arguing that her being a woman shouldn't have affected how audiences, particularly boys, viewed the Doctor as a role model. The Doctor is still the Doctor, but also I am playing an alien. My gender was not the issue. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing in regards to this. Right? When it is Jodie Whittaker first came out as the Doctor, which was the first going to be the Doctor, and they were saying that the Doctor's going to be a woman now and all of that. When she first premiered, it had one of the highest viewership numbers. People tuned in because they were interested to see, okay, you're doing the Doctor as a woman now, all right, let's check this out. I personally don't believe that the Doctor should be a woman. I think the Doctor should just remain male. That's my personal view. But I still understand that, people want to see what's going on. I have no problem with that. Because you could check it out and it could actually be very good. What happened is that people checked it out. And by, I think it was the 3rd or 4th episode, the numbers started to decline even more because people realized you weren't acting like the Doctor. You were acting like something else, and you realize the pacing and the way that the show was moving. And that's what happened. It's the same thing with Shooty Gatwa. The Doctor could be black. No one has a problem with that. But they try to use race to cover up everything. The Doctor could be black. Once the actor is done really well and is doing well, nobody has a problem with it. The same way that she came as the Doctor, as a woman. People were interested. They wanted to see what was going on. They took a look at it and say, okay, what's this about? The Doctor, all right, let's see what's up. Okay. But when your performance and the direction that the show was going in showed people what you were doing, they realized, listen, I don't want any part of this. You people have to be mad. And that's what went on. So for her to say that her premiere as the Doctor had one of the highest viewership numbers, you understand? People checked it out. But because of the quality of what you were producing, people turned away from it. So it's not really fair to come out and blame people and say, people didn't like you because because you are a woman or the other and thing and the other. No, when you all do that, that's what you do to yourself. Now, like I said before, I say again, I think personally that the doctor should remain male. The doctors are male, fine. I think it should remain like that. But you did what you did, okay. Then you kept making it worse, and there's a reason. There is a reason. People always point to the timeless children and did have a problem with it. The doctor was just this rogue Time Lord who took a time machine, the TARDIS, and went out there to help people and do things. That was it. There was nothing special about the doctor, but he became special because of the things that he did. You all ruined all of that and decided to just retcon the entire history to say that, well, the doctor wasn't actually a Time Lord, was a child who was kidnapped by a Time Lord who repeatedly murdered said child to get their regenerative abilities and then pass the rest of the Time Lords. It was ridiculous. That is the kind of crap that ruined it. It's the same thing like with Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Peter Parker was just an ordinary guy who got bitten by a radioactive spider. That was it. And when he then decided that, he had to be, through certain events and stuff like that, like what happened with Uncle Ben, he decided to become a hero. And he was like, that was all that he needed. He didn't need anything else. But then he went in there and started the whole web of life and, Spider-Verse and all that crap. The same thing like you did with the doctor. The doctor was just a normal Time Lord who went out to help people, and you screwed that up because the minute you put a woman in there, you have to change everything to make it seem like, she is the premier of everything. That's what ruined it. That is what ruined it. The fact that you kept pushing a feminist agenda rather than actual common sense and something decent in the show. The storytelling was crap. You did it. You can't come out here and blame boys for it. You did it. But rather than take any responsibility, no, rather let's do something else. Whittaker continues recalling what she says was backlash, really loud rage from a noisy few, adding that she was sent into a spiral when she thought about her performance may affect others playing the doctor following her because she was a woman. And again, they keep talking about it and she say, I'm reading for a noisy few. People didn't like what you were doing. But there are always going to be people who are going to come out and defend everything because all you all have to do is use buzzwords, racist, sexist, I'm a woman, they don't like women. And people just jump on board because why? Not because they actually agree with you, but because they don't want to be labeled as that. That's what it is. Continues on, if Peter Capaldi hadn't been good as the doctor, it would only have reflected on him. Whereas I felt if I wasn't very good at this, I'd F it up for other actors. I think it's completely unacceptable if that was the case, but that's how I felt. Problem with it is that this is what you boil down to. You went in there and said that if Peter Capaldi hadn't been good as the doctor, it wouldn't have reflected on him. There've been people who've played doctor over the years who've been good, who've been bad, who've been kind of or whatever. You understand me? You went in there like you were breaking some barriers about it. Started to tell stories that completely retconned and changed the history of the entire Doctor Who franchise to fit you. That's what they did. They remodeled things to fit you, to push a feminist agenda. So when you come out and say that you felt like if you hadn't, you were effing it up for everybody else, because you were. That's what you were doing. You were effing it up for everybody else, nobody else. If Peter Capaldi had been talking wasn't good, it would just be Peter Capaldi playing the doctor. That was it. But you all can't stop because you always want to change everything to fit what you think it should be. And this is what you just keep doing. While the blame game is being played and the fans are the target, the 15th Doctor has told fans not to watch. Yeah, look how that turned out. The general consensus among fans is the stories are simply awful. That's because they are. Instead of focusing on a quality story, which Doctor Who is known for, starting with Jodie Whittaker, it became all about the agenda, where this series was retconned for DEI and woke purposes to send the message. Exactly what you did. I keep saying that you retcon the history of Doctor Who to push agendas. That's what you are doing. And people see it and they get pissed off by it. You can't lie to people anymore. This is why everything that they keep putting out keeps failing. People are seeing it. People are not stupid. But you all keep listening to Twitter and think that's a good source of information for some reason. It's not. It's not. You keep doing this to yourselves. Well, fans received the message loud and clear and have stopped watching. Yeah. The genius you told people if you like it, go touch grass. Yeah, better you close that door and stay home. They talk about the rumors that Shruti Gatwa has quit and that there's some problem with it and all of that. And they say BBC said it's not true and all that regardless of it. The fact is, Jodie Whittaker wanting to blame boys for the show failure is ridiculous. You did it to yourself. You could have just played the Doctor with good stories, good things, and that would have been it. But no, they wanted to retcon it to fit you because in order to push some feminist agenda, you are perfectly happy to keep pushing that as well. And because it failed, don't you want to come out and blame others for it? No. I said it before, I say it again. I don't think that the Doctor should be a woman. I think personally that the Doctor should be male. That's what I think. Honestly, that's what I think. That doesn't make me sexist. That's just my personal view. That is just my personal view. But that does not give anybody the right to act like, well, because of that, if it had turned out to be good, I would have been perfectly happy to eat crow and say, okay, no problem. Not. But you didn't do that. You did not do that. You went in there to push an agenda, and this is what happened. Your show failed because rather than make a good series, a good show, you decided the best thing to do would be to push an agenda and then try to wave the feminist flag, and this is why it flopped. You changed the history of Doctor Who to fit your agenda, and it continued to flop. You have nobody to blame for this but yourself and the studio that had ran it into the ground. Don't blame the boys, Judy. Blame yourself. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.